Titanic sub, more noises heard in search areas, says U.S. Coast Guard, amid huge effort to bring crew home. Why is this such a big thing? So it's a big thing because rich people are very important. And this is rich people activity. And they did that. They went on a submarine journey. I think it's like, what, 250,000 per head or something crazy like that. They went down into the depths, into the Titanic to see what was going on down there, I guess. And ultimately, it was a disaster. It's like this kind of stuff is I guess, entertaining and scary for people. I don't really understand. I mean, there's like people that were also diving with them, you know what I mean? The viewport that lets passengers see outside the craft was only certified to work in depths of up to 1,300 meters. That is far less than would be necessary for trips to the Titanic, which is nearly 4,000 meters below the ocean's surface. I just don't understand how like this wasn't something that they accounted for. Like this is what they do. James Cameron did this trip 33 times. Yeah, James Cameron is like an experienced diver.
With these billionaires in these tubes. We got a billionaire or other rich people in a tube, a sealed tube. Look, because they want to see the Titanic? You could just rent it on VHS. It's a 2-cassette VHS tape, my dude. They paid $250,000 each. $250,000. Some of you don't understand the concept of that amount of money. That is an okay house in Ohio. It's a sealed tube. It's riveted shut. You cannot open it from the inside. It has no windows. There is one button and there's a screen. You're not even looking at the Titanic with your own eyes. You're looking at a screen that has the camera pointed at the Titanic. So if you want to rip off a billionaire, here's what you do. Hey man, we're gonna go to the Titanic. Oh, that's great. Hop in my tube. Ah, no, there's no windows, but you can watch the TV screen. Lower it down, like just under the water, and make sure it jiggles. Oh, run into some undersea turbulence.
Okay, normally I feel like he yells a lot. You know, his commentary is fine, but this video, or especially the takes, specifically revolving around the tube being lowered to a certain degree, and then like faking it like you've actually gone down into the Titanic, I think is a great take. Why didn't they just lie? I want him to be found because I need to know if they succumb to cannibalism. I mean, they're dead. It would be legitimately shocking if they were alive by the time they find it, if they even find it at all. My friend in Turkey just bought that controller a couple months back because it's cheap. That should say a lot about their safety protocols. Yeah, these motherfuckers were using like the cheapest Logitech controller they can. I think using controllers of that sort is normal process for a lot of this shit, which is, I guess, surprising, but I don't know. They detected banging as of an hour ago. I mean, yeah, the search mission is still going. I mean, they're fucking billionaires. Of course, it's still going. These are like the most untouchable people in society. You know what I mean? These are the people that are not supposed to have these kinds of issues. I mean, if you're dropping 250 bills to go fucking down there and see the goddamn Titanic, and then, you know, this kind of shit happens is a bit wild.
Hi, my name is Stockton Rush. I'm the CEO and founder of OceanGate. Let's take a look at Titan. So we're coming into the sub. This is the only toilet available on a deep diving submersible. Best seat in the house. You can look out the viewport. We put a privacy screen in, turn up the music, and it's very popular. We have our control screen here, our sonar screen here, and we can put any image we want in the back. We've taken a completely new approach to the sub design, and it's all run with this game controller and these touch screens. So if you want to go forward, you press forward. If you want to go back, you go back. Turn left, turn right, go down, go up. And it's Bluetooth, so I can hand it to anybody. And it's meant for a 16-year-old to throw it around, and super durable. We keep a couple of spares on board just in case.
Okay, that's a bit crazy. Like, you watched that and you were like, this is my shit? Death by Joy-Con drift? I mean, this is crazy.
It's a completely privately funded operation, and we're funded by, we call mission specialists who help support the mission. So they take quite a bit of money to come and join us. Years ago, the Russians took tourists out to the Titanic, and it was just sort of a look and see thing. We really are focusing on the science around it.
So
we want to document what the wreck is like now, and also try to predict what it'll be like in the future. It's continuing to decay, and it seems to be accelerating. It's being eaten by a bacteria, so it's literally being eaten by the ocean. It's not rusting away. So these things that are called rusticles are actually the byproduct of a bacteria that eats the iron. And as it does that, these decks are collapsing. The promenade deck continues to collapse forward. We saw some of the railing is starting to lose its structural strength, which is really a sad thing. That's when it's going to stop looking like the Titanic.
Dude, how do you start a business where you're like, there's a market for this, for just like really wealthy people that have enough money to go down to the depths and like go see the motherfucking Titanic? And it's like, it's enough. Like you can make enough money doing this. I guess part of the reason why you can make enough money doing this is because you don't have the best safety protocols.
Definitely heard about the missing small submersible that had a bunch of rich people inside, a billionaire, a Pakistani multimillionaire, the CEO of the Pakistani multimillionaire's son, and I think there was one, I think it's 5 guys, and the guy who was like piloting it. And look, it's been a huge thing on the internet about like people joking about it, including myself, but not even talking about that right now. Just something that I want to say about it, which is the following. It is not lost on me that people will pull out a scalpel to make the most razor-thin distinctions on what is acceptable to say about it, like how callous people are being or how they're joking about it, in regards to some of the richest people on the planet effectively killing themselves like morons, but will give absolutely no grace or will not pause when talking about the experiences and problems and troubles and struggles of people that live in poverty. And this is just an example. Last week, off of the Greek coast in the Mediterranean, there was a capsized ship with over 500, somewhere in the ballpark, 500, 700 refugees. The exact number is not known. Over 500 of them are presumed to have drowned, men, women, and children. Refugees from Palestine, from Egypt, from places in North Africa, right? They are poor people at the very end of their rope with no other possibilities, who are just trying to survive. They want a better life for themselves and their families, and they have to risk it all. Could you tell me that happened? Was there a second of coverage on that, of over 500 people drowning, human beings? No.
Yeah, someone in the chat pointed this out. It's a really good take. Same people that say homeless people are like drug-addled zombies completely fucking forget that, you know, rich people do drugs too, like all the fucking time, as a matter of fact. But when they're doing it from the comfort of their homes. You know, when they are addicted to drugs, it's not in your face. It's not as disruptive, I guess. It's our perception of the matter. People immediately want to rush to be like, I have a principled stance on, you know, billionaires being spoken about like this, but they make no mention of atrocities that poor people face to get a better life for themselves, who are seeking a better future for themselves. Ultimately, I don't care about the fucking billionaire submarine situation. I didn't really cover it that much. I get why people are so callous and show indifference to life when it's when it's like a bunch of billionaires engaging in like the dumbest thing possible. You know what it reminds me of? This situation reminds me of a lot of people trying to tackle Mount Everest. Also a profoundly expensive endeavor. You have a Sherpa that basically holds your hand the entire fucking way, and yet people die all the goddamn time. And it's just like most people who are inexperienced, who are just going up there for a fucking photo. You know what I mean? Not talking about like experienced climbers who do this kind of thing. I'm talking about people who want to conquer the mountain. You know what I mean? Take a photo and basically showcase their accomplishments. You're just, I don't know, you're just fucking, like, it's hard to look at how awful the world is and look at your own personal circumstances and then look to profoundly wealthy, profoundly fortunate people and recognize their humanity when they are objectively taking risks that are ridiculous. Obviously, opportunities that are completely unaffordable and completely shut off to the average person who would never even imagine themselves in a situation like that. And that's where the lack of humanity comes from. That's where people have a hard time recognizing the humanity of like these profoundly wealthy individuals. Cardi B, Submarine, Suntae.
That's missing on the water from that submarine shit. One of the billionaires, their stepson, is at a concert, right? At a Blink 182 concert. And people is like, well, what is he supposed to do? Be sad at the house? Is he supposed to go look for himself? Yes. You're supposed to be at the house sad. You're supposed to be crying for me. You're supposed to be right next to the phone waiting to hear any updates about me. You're supposed to be counseling your mom and shit. Like, isn't it sad that you a whole billionaire and nobody gives a about you? Like you missing and motherfuckers ready to shake dicks at concert. That's crazy. I'd rather be broke. I'd rather be broke than and poor, but knowing that I'm loved.
There's so much going on here with this Attack on Titan filter. Like what the fuck is happening? Why is the Attack on Titan filter cupping her titty?
Our David Pogue was invited recently to join the highly select and very small group of people who've actually made it to the bottom of the Atlantic to view firsthand the eerie remains of the Titanic. It promised to be quite a journey, quite a story besides.
During our 2-day journey into the North Atlantic, we got to know our fellow adventurers. They included everyone from Indian industry mogul Shrenik Baldota.
Yeah, they call me a wild monk.
The wild monk?
Yeah, because I look like a monk. I'm very calm, but I have these extreme interests.
To bank executive Renata Rojas.
I'm trying to fulfill a dream. I've been wanting to go to Titanic and see it with my own eyes since before they found it.
She's been saving up to see the Titanic for 30 years.
Dreams don't have a price. Some people want a Ferrari, some people buy a house. I wanted to go to Titanic.
Dude, I will never understand it. You know, I usually take a don't yuck other people's yum kind of approach to situations like this, but this is it's just so wildly dangerous too. Like it just doesn't, I don't know. I'm not like a big explorer, dude. So it's extra hard for me to look at a situation like this and be like, yeah, that's fine. It's valid.
An experimental submersible vessel that has not been approved or certified by any regulatory body and could result in physical injury, disability, emotional trauma, or death. Where do I sign? Inside, the sub has about as much room as a minivan.
So this is not your grandfather's submersible. We only have one button, that's it. It should be like an elevator. You know, it shouldn't take a lot of skill.
And yet, I couldn't help noticing how many pieces of this sub seemed improvised.
We can use these off-the-shelf components. I got these from Camper World. We run the whole thing with this game controller.
Come on! It seems like this submersible has some elements of MacGyver-y jerry-riggedness. I mean, you're putting construction pipes as ballast.
I don't know if I'd use that description of it, but there's certain things that you want to be buttoned down. So the pressure vessel is not MacGyver at all, because that's where we work with Boeing and NASA and the University of Washington. Everything else can fail. Your thrusters can go, your lights can go, you're still going to be safe.
Your controller can drift. Wonder what happens when that happens, you know? Think about that. Only bad things happen in the ocean. Yeah, surfing is cool, but you're taking your life into your hands every time you paddle out. Yeah, but like there's a difference between a hobby, a sport, an activity, and the understandable risk that you're taking on when you engage in such an endeavor versus something like this. There's always a cost-benefit analysis where you have to look at a situation and assume risks, understandable risks, and weigh them against the benefits of engaging in said action. And there's obviously a difference between like someone said, oh, well, you know, you love going to Japan. You know, these guys want to go to the Titanic. Titanic is kind of like, you know, their Japan. That's what someone said in the chat. It's like, yeah, there's a risk when you fly, I guess. But it's infinitely smaller. Hypocrite? Yeah, I'm a hypocrite. I travel to Japan. These guys travel to the Titanic. It's also not $250,000 to travel to Japan. So there's that too. I feel the same way about these people trapped as I would anyone croaking on Everest or someone blowing up on a tourist space flight. You took the risk. Exactly. It's hard. It's hard for me to sit here and act like I give a shit about this. You know what I mean? Like, I can't get myself to care. I know that there was like a normie there too, right? Them traveling to the Titanic is probably you traveling to the grocery store in terms of money spent. Yeah, that too, for sure.
The crew closes the hatch from the outside with 17 bolts. There's no other way out. Here's how the launch is supposed to go. The sub is attached to a huge floating platform.
We're in the water, we're floating. Woo! They're going to come and prepare the platform for the next phase, which is the sinking.
The platform submerges to around 30 feet, where the water is much calmer than on the surface.
You're in the water, people.
Divers detach the sub from the platform, and away you go, in theory.
Hull integrity, holding.
Our dive in the OceanGate submersible had made it down only 37 feet when this happened.
So apparently those floats there came off the platform, and that wasn't supposed to happen, so we're
scrubbing?
Yeah, I think that's the consensus up here.
Copy that.
I was crushed. My diving adventures were over.
Every expedition has its challenges, all of them. I have not been in one expedition where things have to be adjusted, adapted, changed, or canceled at the end of the day. You're at the mercy of the weather.
Renata Rojas speaks from painful experience. Over the years, she's been booked on 3 Titanic expeditions. All 3 were canceled.
You just cry a lot and just keep the dream alive because it's something that I have to do.
I'm not gonna lie, this is making it so much harder for me to feel bad. It's just like the more I see people that are like this attached to seeing a fucking inanimate object that is like dead by even inanimate object measurements, you know what I mean? That's the funniest part. Like, you know how people fall in love with roller coasters and whatnot? At least the roller coaster is like an inanimate object but alive. The Titanic is like even dead by inanimate object standards. You know what I mean? It's just like you're there to see the corpse of an inanimate object. OceanGate CEO challenging the very concept of safety in a CBS interview.
There's a limit. At some point, safety just is pure waste. I mean, if you just want to be safe, don't get out of bed, don't get in your car, don't do anything. At some point, you're going to take some risk, and it really is a risk-reward question. I said, I think I can do this just as safely by breaking the rules.
That's awesome. Well, that's cool. This guy seemingly has some great ideas. This is what I want to hear from my $250,000 Titanic experience owner.
Researchers like deep-sea biologist Steve Ross and ocean archaeologist Rob Mather join every expedition. In effect, the passengers are funding their science.
How scientific is this expedition?
I don't do show science. So our job is to do real and important and valid work.
On our 6th day at sea, the weather cleared. The dive was a go.
Titan, sitting at 3742 meters, reports on bottom.
But that was the last of the good news. There's no GPS underwater. So the surface ship is supposed to guide the sub to the shipwreck by sending text messages.
Turn 30 degrees right?
Probably, 30 degrees.
But on this dive, communications somehow broke down. The sub never found the wreck.
We were lost. We were lost for 2.5 hours.
Bro, there are 1 million red flags. Every part of this story is almost completely and utterly filled to the brim with red flags. Like this literally was like, hey, guys, I've built a contraption. It costs $250,000 and you maybe get to see through a monitor something that you find to be cool, whatever it is that you like. There's also a 93% chance that while you're in the contraption, a nail will hit you directly in the fucking dome on your temple and you will die a gruesome and horrifying death. Who's like, oh, sign me up. I love that. I love looking at like a random thing through this tiny monitor. Do you know, have you been following this at all? Probably not, right? Because we've been
doing things, so I haven't had a chance to follow it, but I don't think you're on the right train of thought with your takes about adventure. Like, I don't know about the build quality. I don't know about what the physical like submarine device or submersible looks like. But like seeking adventure is a good thing. You don't leave your house, so you wouldn't get it.
I already talked about the risk reward assessment. I recognize my own personal shortcomings, I guess, in that regard. But the risk reward in this circumstance doesn't make sense. Like, it's easy to just say you don't leave your house, so what the fuck do you know? But I wouldn't have this kind of take on, like, for example, someone in the chat said surfing is very dangerous. You know what I mean? But I don't think that's
motorcycles are dangerous.
Yeah, motorcycles are dangerous, but I don't think that that's like I would never make the argument that like if someone died while they're surfing that it was like, oh yeah, well you fucked around and you found out. I would never do it. I'm scared of the ocean. But if a shark attacked you and killed you while you were, swimming in I guess dangerous waters, I still would think that you knew the risks, you assumed the risks, but it's still a perfectly valid thing that a lot of people engage in, and the risks are relatively low, whereas like the rewards are understandable. This is a situation where the risks are incredibly high and the rewards are almost nothing.
No, the rewards are really high too. You get to be one of the few people. Like, so I don't know much about it, and my takes might be wrong, but one of the guys was on one of the Jeff Bezos Blue Origin like things, right? So you get to be one of the very few people in the world that have done this, and that alone, I mean, I don't want to just call it bragging rights, but like that alone is worth a lot to a lot of people. Not to you, I totally get it, but the sense of adventure, the sense of being able to go somewhere or see something that no other person can do in a world that's quickly becoming accessible to everyone to go, see, use however they wish. Like, I get that. It's a bad comparison, but like that's why I like off-roading, right?
Have you seen...
You get to go on top of a mountain. That's awesome. Now you get to go to the bottom of the ocean. That's sick.
This in and of itself makes it ridiculous.
So this reminds me of like experimental aircraft, where like if you want, you can go build an airplane in your backyard, right? But you also can't put other people in it without having the proper like regulations in place. Obviously, the ocean is not regulated in the same way.
I made a comparison to Mount Everest, which has like become, it's like slowly but surely getting destroyed right now because wealthy people have turned it into a relatively accessible form of posturing and claiming that this is an accolade, this is an accomplishment that you did. It's like, I mean, you're being fucking handheld and carried by a Sherpa for the most part, but like ultimately it's just for like a photo and to say that you did it. And
it's more than that. I give them the benefit of the doubt.
It's bragging rights. You just said it's bragging rights.
Yeah, I know. But it's more than that. It's an experience that you get to do, right? It's no different than like some crazy, Tokyo thing that we could do where you get to like eat pufferfish or something, right? It's just more extreme and more awesome and bigger.
Okay, but the issue is you do a risk reward assessment. Everyone obviously has a different one. But there are certain edge cases that fucking make sense. Like, you signed up for something that has an incredibly high likelihood of failure. Especially because...
I would call it incredibly high. Hold
on,
it
is. You're absolutely wrong on.
It's definitely higher, like substantially higher. But like, it's not like, 1 out of 2 people were going to die.
Look at the situation.
Okay.
David Pogue. Remember my voyage to the Titanic last summer? In OceanGate's homemade carbon fiber sub, they took passengers out again this summer, but as of today, the sub is lost. Do submersibles have something similar to an aircraft's emergency locator transmitter that can be detected by searchers? This submersible does not have any kind of beacon like that. On my expedition last summer, they did indeed get lost for about 5 hours, and adding such a beacon was discussed.
Dude, you're making an argument for regulation.
Yeah, no shit. To be clear, I was not on the sub that day. I was on the ship at the surface in the control room. They could still send short text to the sub, but did not know where it was. It was quiet and very tense, and they shut off the ship's internet to prevent us from tweeting. Nice. Is there a reason that detail didn't make it in the show? Yes, The company gave us a different rationale for shutting off the internet, that this could be an emergency and that they needed all channels open, and we had no idea how to confirm whether or not that was true.
And there it was. The famous bow, the ship's
That is
wheel
incredible.
pedestal, and memorial plaques from old expeditions. The bollards that once secured the ship in port, and the davits that lowered the lifeboats. The hole where a huge smokestack once stood. Renata Rojas.
I cannot begin to tell you how fucking stupid all of this looks to me. I
Okay,
know.
you obviously don't get it.
I am obviously, I'm admitting that I'm like not the clientele for this kind of thing. Okay, I'm not.
Like that footage just